AUX mode.
Even though his mic is still is muted. So we just kick off. Thank you everyone for this opportunity and time. Well, today we have with us two distinguished Nigerians. Precise Financial Systems has been in play in Nigeria for 27 years, and the two minds that came together to form that company are with us today. I welcome Dr. Yele Okeremi, the MD of Precise Financial Systems, and Mr. Philip Ayeni, the Deputy Managing Director of Precise Financial Systems. You are welcome, sirs.
Thank you very much, Jide.
Yes, people are joining us, but we have some questions that we're going to kick off with. So without much ado, we're just going to start like that. Just one quick question before we take your bios. I don't want people coming in to miss your bios, and they are very extensive. So we're gonna kick it off like that. The question we'll start with for Dr. Okeremi is this: why did you decide to get uncomfortable by choosing to build a software company in Nigeria?
Get uncomfortable. Well, I don't know the meaning of deciding to get uncomfortable. I always tell people that I don't even take risks, honestly. I tell people that only mad people take risks, because as far as I'm concerned, the risk is something that you take that can kill you. What I do is, when I feel pretty much in control of what I'm doing, then I think it's a good move. So I will say yes. I will say decided to get uncomfortable. Philip and I thought we were going to be comfortable, actually. But what happened was that, and incidentally, I would share the feedback I got just yesterday. Very interesting feedback. What happened was that we used to work in the bank. And at that time, I worked as the CIO of the bank. And at that time, people used to come from Europe, particularly from the UK and Ireland, to sell software to me as this, to the bank, well, through me, of course, as CIO of the bank. And it happened that the bank we were working in was doing in-house development rather than buying software packages. And that had taught us the secret of developing software and developing it for commercial purposes. And so when people would come and these white boys would come and sell the software to us, I found a lot of the software they were peddling to be substandard. And when I say substandard, I'm not saying they were not good, but they didn't reflect our own needs in this environment. And when you would ask them, okay, fair enough, for the kind of substandard software you are bringing, how much is it? We thought it would be cheap. And then they mentioned figures in those days of £500,000, 1 million pounds. And after a while, Philip and I started saying, look, what are these people really selling? What are these people really doing? We can do this thing better, because indeed we had done similar stuff where we were working and it was better, you know? And so that was the basis for us to say that, yes, it's time to do something and to prove that, yes, we are black, we are not stupid.
Thank you very much for that brief introduction, sir. I know that, like you said, I also was just watching Mr. Ayeni on video yesterday when he was talking about, we'll get to that later, when he was talking about the NACS project. And anyone who watched that video could see the palpable energy in him. He didn't need anyone to tell anyone that he was totally excited. But I will take him back to 27 years ago, when I believe the excitement was not that palpable. When you started out with your partner with less than $50, 8,250. As an accountant, how did those numbers add up that you decided that you would form a company. How did those numbers add up, sir?
Today, I hope you don't make a mistake here, because there are no numbers anywhere. So nothing to add up. So, we were not conscious of figures. Let me put it that way. We started in an unconventional manner. When you want to start a business, you do your business plan, you do your modeling, you do your projections, 5-year projections. This is the figure, this is the bottom line, you're going to make this. That did not apply, funny enough. This youthful energy, passion that, just all over us. You can look at the two of us and you can imagine a situation whereby somebody met the two of us one day and said that, look, I like them. They be like twins. Let them go. How can we look like twins? We don't look like this. We just behave, in a similar manner. So no figures add up. I'm an accountant, yes, no figures. But what actually added up is passion, energy. The fact that you could do something and the environment will say, wow, this is lovely. This is adding value to our business. That was just it. That was the energy. That was the push. That was the drive that we had there. In terms of figures, they were non-existent, actually, Jide. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. For those who might not know Mr. Ayeni very well, he's also a music master. He plays a lot of instruments. So we'll get to that point because it doesn't really add up, like you said, when you look at the numbers 27 years ago. But PFS today, for want of a better word, is a giant on the Nigerian software landscape. So we'll greet everyone coming to join again. A very good morning. Thank you for giving us a part of your time. On the seats, we have Dr. Yele Okeremi and Mr. Philip Ayeni, co-founders of Precise Financial Systems Limited. Now, let me start with Mr. Ayeni. There's so much, if you want to read about him, there's so much to say, but I'll just pick out some interesting things. Sir, you were involved in an audit with Dangote for a period of time. I think it was fine. You helped them recover some money. You've been a chartered accountant for ages. You attended INSEAD. When you read through this, you are wondering, okay, this is still Nigeria. People still have this kind of accolades and are still doing great work. Instrumental to the independent forensic audit and verification of bank charges for the Dangote Group for 16 bank accounts between 1999 and 2006. We can't even ask you the question, how did you live through that? You've worked with NIBS to create NACS. You've done work on NEFT. You've worked with CBN, and still, you've not been given a chieftaincy title as a Nigerian, which is a bit bothersome. But we understand our climbs. We have Dr. Yele Okeremi, who is an astute academic. I see here, adjunct professor. He has worked on Demo Africa with the US government. He's published so many articles, so many things you've done, sir. Doctor of Business Administration. Where did you guys find this time and still be able to run an enterprise in Nigeria that has fulfilled its mandate for almost 27 years? So I start again with the DMD. With all this, how have you been able to achieve this? Because people in the room want to know, people who are aspiring to be another Mr. Ayeni are in the room. So they would like to hear this.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jide. To see that when PFS started in 1994, we actually started with a banking system, okay, a DOS platform. Funny enough, this system is still working to date, funny enough, right? But nobody will sell it, right? We moved immediately to accounts reconciliation, and that was where Clarek actually came up. So the offshoot and aspect, the module on accounts reconciliation automation is what we call finance cost adjustment. And that finance cost adjustment sets out to look at the authenticity or otherwise of calculations of bank charges, debit interest, COT, and all whatnot, all bank charges, credit interest, debit interest, and all the methods available to it. So the forensic accounting was an offshoot of our own accounts reconciliation, automation. That was where it started. And then you see that when we started, we were trying to actually bridge a gap between business owners and business managers. There's always that particular gap. You have many satellite systems that banks and organizations run, and most of them are detached. And we don't have a single entry point where all these applications will work in unison, so to speak, or in harmony, so to speak, musically. And then you have a scenario whereby it creates a lot of reconciliations and people will have to go back and put figures in perspective. Up to today, unfortunately, when figures are not reconciled, nothing happens to them. It only continues to be complex and complicated. And of course, banks generally, we carried out research, and we realized that there are about 5 different stages of the different levels. I'm not trying to indict the banks. You have a stage where you have errors on your accounts, you don't know whether the bank charges are actually correct. And you have the second stage whereby, this error, are you even aware that the errors are actually there? Number 3, are you actually comfortable with what it takes to actually establish whether the banks have not made mistakes in charging you excessively, and then the rest. And then, okay, if you have that, do you have the will to commit resources into it and get it done and establish a particular figure and say that this is the asking figure from my bank? And then you will have the wherewithal to actually engage the bank in negotiating the figures out. We know that these are different stages, and not many organizations are actually cut out to go through all these figures. And then, of course, the banks will fit. I remember it was a particular bank, I won't mention the name, they were charging interest twice a month, on the 13th and on the 26th of the month, deputy the customers. It was a fiasco. And then the rest, you will see COT charges and the rest. So that was the offshoot. The issue is this: the passion to see the business of our clients on stream, online, is what it was driving us. Not the money, not the fee. We just wanted to prove a point that Nigerians can actually take care of their businesses and be examples onto the larger world to emulate. Thank you very much. I wouldn't know whether I've answered your question.
Yes, a bit, sir, a bit. But let us switch it to the captain of the ship and say that people are asking that how did you define the initial idea that was PFS? And how did you explain it to the people around you before taking the jump? And how was it metamorphosed over the last 27 years?
Well, thank you. So the initial idea was very, very clear to Philip and I. And at that time, the initial idea was selling banking applications, just like he said. Remember, we used to work in the bank, in the tech department of the bank. And I mean, so first of all, when you were introducing me, you introduced me as an academic. It's interesting. At that time, I wasn't an academic. But one of the things we do in academia is the same that is done in business. It is called identify the gap. So we identified the gap, which is exactly what Philip said. What was the gap at that time? Every software that came into this country was foreign. Most of the software that came into the banking sector and that people considered to be mature were foreign. And secondly, majority of them were substandard. And I use the word substandard with all sorts of responsibility. Substandard meaning that they didn't quite take cognizance, full cognizance of our own ideologies, of our own society, and of our own practices. And so you bring in a software and then you expect that because you've brought in a software software, then I must change my life. And those were the gaps that we saw. And having seen the gaps, we were also opportuned to test the hypothesis. You know, academics are always crazy about testing hypothesis. We want to test because that's what becomes knowledge. If I tell you that something, if I don't have the proof of it, then that's a hypothesis. So that was what happened. We were fortunate enough to be in a bank that allowed us to test the hypothesis. Testing the hypothesis meaning that allowing us to bring our own creativity to play and see the results of the creativity of young Nigerians and see the joy on the faces of managers and even owners of the bank at that time. And for very little price compared to what the foreigners were doing. That was enough to be exciting for young people. It was enough to be very appreciative to God of. And one of the things I should say, for me, for example, I had a degree in computer science with economics. But one of the things I decided, and that was what affected my career path, I knew when I was at the university that I wasn't cut out to go to a bank or a user environment to be running packages developed by other people. I felt that was just beneath my capacity. Why should I be running packages developed by other people? Why can't I develop packages to be run by other people? So I always had that at the back of my mind. And so this is a case of what you call utmost serendipity. In academia, we call it the Martinelli's taxonomy metaphor, where you find a good seed meeting good soil. So you have somebody who's very keen on proving his mettle, who's determined to create something, and meeting an environment that says, listen, boy, we are happy to have you. Come and try out all these things. Nobody's going to kill you when you make mistakes. And that allowed us to be very creative. And before our very eyes, we saw those results. People were happy. And then it became much more interesting. Yes, I was younger, Philip, we were younger at that time. But we then saw many CIOs of several banks coming to consult with us in my office. And they would say, oh, we just want to find out, how did you solve this problem? And I would say, oh, that's easy. That's not a problem at all. Come and take a look at it. And then they show us, oh, but this is how Bankmaster does it. Or this, in those days, were the days of Bankmaster and Capiti, you know. And then we say, look, it's kind of complicated. So those were sufficient for us at that time to be filled to doing what we currently do. But you see, what we didn't know was the road ahead. We thought that the mere fact that you have the knowledge and capacity to deliver the solution was a sufficient case for you to run business. But, and I thank God we didn't know, because, you know, I mean, like it was written in the Bible that if the children of Israel had gone along the short path that would have taken them, it said they will pass through the land of the Philistines and then they will see war, and you know what would have happened. So thank God that we didn't know that doing business was a different kettle of fish altogether. Maybe we wouldn't have started, because when we knew we had the capacity, we knew we had the knowledge. Indeed, we knew there was a gap. What we did not know was that the dynamics for decision making was a completely different kettle of fish. The questions that people are going to ask is not about whether you are capable or you are competent. There are several other questions that are absolutely, in my opinion, irrelevant to a developing nation. But we had to go in there. However, one of the questions you asked is, so how did you find time? One of the things I say is that there are 24 hours that's available to everybody that's here in this realm, in our time and space. No way you can increase it. Absolutely nothing you can do. The question is, how do you spend the 24 hours? And I want to say one thing which is very important, particularly to younger people. People that want to be successful spend their time on areas that they expect the highest returns. And that's exactly what Philip and I also did. So within those 24 hours, we just realized that, yes, while other people are having time to, you know, frolic, go to clubs, you know, go have a drink, you could actually spend those times developing something. And one important thing, before you can develop anything, because you cannot give what you do not have, you have to first of all develop yourself. And so we decided to spend a lot of time developing ourselves. So when people are sleeping, we are studying. When people are sleeping, you are writing. When people are sleeping, you are developing. And that has become, part of our lives. And I think it's been very helpful. So some of the things that we talk about that sound like very big achievements, pretty much anybody can achieve them if we just spend our time appropriately.
Thank you, sir. You've almost jumped to the end of the webinar in the advice given, but very good one, and it's well noted. The question, because CLIREC has been talked about in so many countries, and but still people do not know that it is precise financial systems that develop that simple solution. In the climate where we live in, and this question is directed at the DMD, how do you, because the MD just mentioned on it, it says things that are supposed to count don't count. The things that count are the ones that don't count. So how did you ensure that this thing that should count, such as CLIREC, counted in an environment like Nigeria, where things are done upside down?
Yeah, thank you very much, DJ. Our CLIREC, as I said, actually started with us in 1994. Okay, we started with in 1994, towards the end of the year, started with it. And then, of course, what brought that to fore was the fact that our accountants are always amazed. You see the green ticks in their whatever, when they do their vouching and then their audit, you always see their green pens. It's only the auditors and the CEOs, use the green pen. And then I say this is correct, you see the green tick and gives you this psychological respite and you are good, you feel good about it. The fact is that, yes, you could have a lot of challenges, but the innovation in you, the intuition you have is that, look, these things can be automated. And you even have accountants challenging you and say, how do you want to make the computer to tick? And then we said, yes, you could actually make the computer to tick. And in fact, when we developed the very first version, we make sure that the symbol for adjudging a set of transactions to be of exact matches was a green tick, just a green tick. Okay, this is correct. Okay, so it was amazing. What I want to tell you is this, that it's not that easy to convince people that computer can actually be used to do accounts reconciliation. But then when you look at the benefits of the fact that, yes, accounts reconciliation is a control function, right? You want to control, and in the process whereby you have several thousands of transactions, millions of transactions that are increasingly, impossible for human beings to actually do justice to within a particular time, then you got to talk about automation. Of course, people match. If I have 500 transactions in one account, another 500 transactions in the other account, and I'm matching, as a reconciliation officer, I only give my boss the outstanding items and I go. So my boss does not even know how I got to, match all the items that I've claimed that I've matched. And then you have a system whereby each individual reconciliation officer will have his own style, his own method of actually carrying out the reconciliation function. And then you see the system whereby you have all that, the working papers are not even kept. And if they are kept, you don't have any repository, for them. And then the fact that the reliability of there. And beyond all this, when you do your reconciliation conventionally, you have your matches. The only thing you have is your outstanding items. There are so many other related activities to reconciliation beyond listing of outstanding items. You have issues about analyzing transactions in that account over a particular year, establishing bank charges in those stores over the years, bringing in multiple data from different sources with different narratives to form a unique book for you to reconcile. You have that. And then you even have non-financial reconciliation where you are reconciling countries. So the benefits are just overwhelming. And there is no way you could have all these benefits provided or buy the conventional ERP or banking system or an accounting system. So the benefits, okay, the essence is just overwhelming. So it was so easy for us to convince people. And of course, the level of service that we render is very, very, very credible. And then, of course, we will interface to so many other files external to the banking system. The ease of doing reconciliation unattended is automated. You leave your desk in the evening, by next morning you come back, your account is reconciled. That is amazing. That is amazing. That's first class. That's world class. Okay, that is what we do. So the fact that you could actually drive home the benefits of automation of accounting system, any form of account, is actually very, 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 very credible. And then besides, the business environment is always very, very dynamic. Today, you will see a bank launching a new product, another finance company launching another product. Most of those products are launched without adequate provision for back office activities. And these back office activities will always create reconciliation challenges. I was just speaking with somebody yesterday. They have a lot of challenges dated back to 5 years, and then the rest, they will always come up. So the benefits of automation are always overwhelming. So it's not that difficult, for us to put it on the table. The other factors that you have to deal with are political factors and national factors, which are actually external. They are beyond what you can control. But we were able to weather the storm. Thank you very much, Jide.
Thank you, sir. In a word, the phrase that jumps out at us here is, he said, the benefits of the solution overrode every pessimism and skepticism that was on ground.
For sure.
So it was bigger than, it just swallowed up any kind of, because you saw everybody saw, people wanted to go home. That's just it. And Clydech helped them get home. So
you can't deny it.
They just had to move with it. Okay,
yeah.
I will move back to the MD and ask that one of the major challenges that we face, Nigerian businesses face, is getting a client and keeping the client. And one of the things that the DMD has alluded to. Yes. So for people in the house and people listening now, they want to know, how did you get that your first client? What did you do? Was there something? Is there a nugget that you want to drop there for aspiring? Okay.
Well, I think that's an interesting question. Finding and winning the first client is always something that's very exciting. And in our own case, indeed, very exciting. The story is interesting because the very first client was a client that we thought we didn't get. We thought we had lost the client. Again, similar to what Philip has said. You know you have a solution, you know it's good. People actually who are discerning take a look at it and they know that this is sound. But then the process of the decision, the dynamics is a different kettle of fish altogether. So the clients, we had done the demos, we thought we had a brilliant software, and even the management, the users, thought we had a brilliant software. And we had assurances that yes, we were going to get the job. Now, I mean, so you have to understand that these were days when it may be a bit unbelievable for the younger folks that there were no GSM phones at that time. Yes, there were, cell phone 090, which were the analog phones. I didn't have a mobile phone at that time. So basically what happened was that you had to physically be there if you had to have a meeting. There were no Zooms and platforms like these that we are currently using. And I remember they had invited Philip and I, oh, guys, congratulations. Come around the office and pick your work order. And we were so excited about it and drove down to Anthony to pick up the work order. Now, let me backpedal a bit. The process of getting the first client is no simple work. And it's the same process of getting subsequent clients, actually, because there's a sales life cycle, preparing proposals, identifying what value you are selling, identifying who needs it, and then getting your proposal to the hands of the prospective customer. And those were processes that we followed. And some of them were also by referrals. But now fast forward to the point where they invited us to come and pick the PO. You can imagine how excited two young people were to pick the PO, only to drive down, and we were kept waiting in the reception for about an hour and a half, waiting for the call to come in to pick the PO. So we thought they were preparing the PO, whatever it was, only to get in, and we met the general manager, who was the CEO, looking very unhappy, looking very uncomfortable, sneezing as if he had COVID, Because I remember on that, if it was the days of COVID, I would have taken cover because he was sneezing very seriously. He was speaking on his cellular phone, and he was speaking to his chairman, trying to negotiate with his chairman. Apparently, what had happened was that the management had approved that the PO should be given to us, but they still needed to send the final approval to the group chairman in his own office. And of course, I think that approval went with some other approvals. And then the group chairman did not approve the transaction in our favor. He preferred somebody that he knew. And therefore, he approved that the project should be given to the other party that he knew, that he felt comfortable with. It doesn't matter whether his product was inferior or not. And so the GM was trying to negotiate with the chairman that, listen, we've seen the two applications. This is substandard. And the chairman just wouldn't budge because it was his money anyway. So after an hour and a half, Philip and I got in, and he gave us the bad news that, listen, guys, I've been on the phone with my chairman, and the chairman has declined. He said we should give the job to another company. So you can imagine how crestfallen young people would be. You're about to celebrate your first client, and then, this happens. It's a terrible thing. We needed the money. We needed the reference. We needed everything. It was a very good reference because incidentally, at that time, I think they were number one in their own industry, and that would have been a fantastic reference, for a company that was aspiring to be number one as well. And so they told us, sorry, guys, too bad, no deal. That day, I actually cried. I remember that day. I felt sad. I felt bad in the car. Philip was driving, and I was crying. And, there's a point you get to, and then you realize that there's a creator that is bigger than you, that you can run to. And on that day, in the process of crying, I remember saying, Philip, these people have cheated us simply because we do not know people. Yeah. And that was what I said. I said, they've cheated us simply because we do not know people. But if you are God, then this software will not work. That is. And Philip said only one word, amen. And, we left. And that's why I said earlier that, you see, it doesn't matter how brilliant your ideas are. your association is going to really matter in success in business. And so we lost that bid and left, crestfallen. But you see, one thing I also like to say is that whatever you do, make sure you create good impressions. Make sure whatever you do, you build bridges and not build walls. What had happened during the course of marketing the software was we had created alliances so well with the management and the staff of this particular company that they had loved us. They had seen us like friends. And so it turned out that I wasn't married at that time. So my wedding happened in Ibadan. And imagine the company in Lagos, only for my wedding to come, and I think about 5 of them came for the wedding. I didn't see them, but Philip saw all of them. Philip entertained them. And then when I came back to Lagos, Philip told me that, oh, Yele, we need to go and thank these our friends who came for your wedding. I said, really, did they come? I didn't see them. He said, I am the one that entertained all of them. So we decided to go and thank them for coming for the wedding, because now we have become friends, even though we are not doing business together. And when we got there, I will never forget, the very first person we met to say thank you to said, oh my God, I love the wedding. Oh, it was a good one. But you guys, go and see the CEO now. I said, what for? What are we seeing the CEO for? I said, oh God, this software is not working. said, really? He said, the software is not working. Go and see this. He said, man, it's a different kettle of fish. The CEO now has power. He doesn't need to go to the chairman anymore. Go and see him. Incidentally, the CEO himself came for the wedding. So I said, oh, in any case, I'm going to say thank you to him. So Philip and I just went to his office. And after thanking him, then I just brought up the topic. I said, look, Oga, how far now? Then the guy opened one diary. I remember that diary.
Yeah, yes, diary. Handwritten.
Handwritten. He said, Yele, I'm losing my mind. I am about to lose my job. And I know that within the next 2 months, this system is going to cause me to lose my job. He said to me that, Yele, every transaction that happens in this bank, I have a mental block, a mental blocker in my head. That is what this bank depends on, not the software. And on that day, he said, okay, let's do a proposal. And just like that, we did a proposal. And within weeks, we got an approval. So that's how we got our first client. Did we celebrate it? You cannot imagine the kind of celebration that footballers have when their team wins the World Cup. That was exactly what happened. We celebrated it so well. And I will say a few things the principles that I'm talking about here. One is diligence. Give your best shot. Two, it doesn't matter what the obstacles are. Our own challenges was that we didn't know people, they didn't know us, but give a good account. Three, make sure you are building bridges and stay in touch. And then four, remember there's an almighty God who hears and answers prayers. And that's exactly what we did. We decreed that the software was not going to work, and that software did not work. That's how we got the first client. The proceeds of which we used to acquire the office at that time. Thank you.
MD, it's a bit dangerous when you finish on the tone that you decreed. I hope that people in the house don't take it hook, line, and sinker. You must have something in you before you can decree anything. If you are decreeing not anything on nothing, nothing will happen. So let us just be very factual about that. Yes, we know that definitely everything we do, God is the ultimate. So anybody that does not believe that, maybe we don't have that, like MD would say, that is above my pay grade. So I'll just move on I'll move on to now. DMD, there's been this lots of great software coming from PFS. Like we said, we've mentioned Clyrect, we have Payit, we have iTeller, and like I mentioned at the beginning, and we will soon get to it, we have the national proprietary software that was developed in the office that is doing wonders in the Nigerian banking system. But first things first is, let us talk about this, the motto of the company, which says simple solutions. Solutions are not supposed to be simple. When you look at the way the world is, because challenges are like, they will knock you down, knock you out. But PFS now comes and says, let us give you simple solutions. So for us, so people listening, how did you come to that point when you said, okay, we are delivering simple solutions? Hello, sir, you have the floor now. How did you get to the point where you said it is just simple solutions?
Okay. Okay. The fact is this. If you understand the basis of your challenge, if you know you can trace the challenge to the bedrock, you can actually come up with a simple solution. Let me tell you, most solutions to life problems are actually simple. They are very, very simple. You look at it, the issue is whether there is a gap in knowledge. Once you remove that gap, then the whole thing becomes pretty simple. Look at it all over the world. Look at it. Even if you have medical challenges, it could be complicated. By the time they do the diagnostic measures, they go through this, they do research and find out, look, this simple thing. I know that is a very, very simple thing. I remember there was a time I was down, I was very, very sick. Yele was even afraid that Philip was probably going to pack up. And I said, what we spend, antibiotics, blah, 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 blah. I was hospitalized. You remember France 98, final, Brazil versus France. I will not forget. It was that same Sunday. And we met a medical doctor. And I said, so Philip, what is wrong with you? And I was explaining, he did me. Yes. So I began to say, okay, you also have this. I said, no, no, you have it. He would not say, come, bring your tummy. He would tell me, yeah, he said, yes, you had it. Yeah. The guy had knowledge. That this is a very simple thing. If it were complicated, he was even telling me, educating me on the features of a complicated situation. Whereas yours is on this level, so that go and use, the drug is very cheap. Very cheap. It's just like saying go and use Panadol. Very, and this one lose it because you have this. Do you believe that while the man was still speaking with me, my temperature became normal? And that was the end of that. And I have been hospitalized many times. Look, let me tell you, most of the problems people have is because people are not able to actually diagnose that challenge. They can't drill to the bottom. And unfortunately, most organizations are actually protecting their empire rather than leaving themselves open to solving problems that are killing them. And some of them will probably going to die of those problems. There are many examples. I can't be citing them now. Many, many, many examples. They either protect themselves. They either will have spent some money in acquiring a particular solution. And of course, they want to justify the procurement of that particular solution. And they will not look for a replacement within the next X years, maybe 3 or 4, 5 years, when they will have written off the assets. So they have all sorts of things. So they paint the picture that they have a problem, some problems. Even when you go to them and say, you have a solution, what they will first do is to tell you how big their problem is. They are not even receptive to your ideas. But the fact is that if you have the knowledge, if you have the right approach, and if you have a listening client that is ready to partner with you. So that's why we say that we partner with our clients. We are not just consultants, we partner with our clients. It's a partnership. Solutions are always very simple. Jide, many examples. They will always remain simple. They will always remain simple. Even the problem to Nigerian problem is simple. It's simple. Problems can be solved. Very simple, non-complicated manner. Nature has made it so. Thank you, Jide.
Passionate about Nigeria. But I know this for a fact too, and I'm very sure you have had instances of some of your friends who have been in government who tell you that it's not rocket science before they enter, and then it becomes astrophysics when they enter. So let us not just mention Nigeria first. I know our environment, we are a product of our environment, but PFS has been able to, I believe, nudge that a bit aside to create its own environment, to create simple solutions. What you've said, and you said it simply, is not that simple. Correct diagnosis leads to simple solutions. But people who intentionally remain blind, how can they get correct diagnosis? So let's just move on from that, sir. A question goes to doctor, and it says that in the beginning, when you were mentioning when you were in the bank and substandard softwares were being marketed to you at humongous amounts, this question is asking you that now your PFS has products and software that is outside the shores of Nigeria, in different societies and in different cultures. He said, how is PFS making sure that such gaps that you saw at the beginning do not surface in these other societies and culture?
Well, I think that's a very important thing to say. And this is my mantra as captain of of the ship. So I'm going to try to talk about three things. And the first one is just going to take off from where Philip stopped. And I think I like the way you put it there, simple solutions. You know, when you see a tree, the tree could be very large. If you look at the tree from the top, particularly trees that have very wide branches, the chances of you being intimidated by the sheer size of the tree is very present. But if you digged deep to the roots, you realize that the taproot might be very easy to take out. I want to take out that taproot to take out the tree. What am I saying here? What is the process of coming up with solutions? A lot of times people come up with solutions that tend to solve the symptoms that is being described to them. And when you try to solve symptoms like that, you are likely to come out very complicated and complex systems that even you, the developer, might not be able to control. And that's not exactly optimal. But when you ask questions, not just what do you do, not just how do you do it, but you ask why must we do this, then you are likely to understand the philosophy of the challenge that is put on the table. And when you understand that philosophy, you are likely to be able to prescribe a solution that's likely to be all-encompassing. For those of us who did elementary mathematics, when we were doing quadratic equations, you remember the way we used to do quadratic equations, and then you go and then you do the normal, the simple one, and then they teach us completing the squares, and then they come with one that they call the almighty formula. And they made us believe that the almighty formula will always work for quadratic equation. That is what I'm talking about. When you understand from the first principles, you can come up with an almighty formula that will always work. And that's one of the things that talk about the simplicity of approach to the solutions. Most challenges that appear complex have solutions that are very simple when you understand it fundamentally, including rocket science. Then secondly, the question that has been asked is, so in that light, how do we make sure that we do not also become victims of what we saw? And the very first thing that we do is what I have said, understanding the philosophy. Once you understand the philosophy, look, human needs, all human beings, it doesn't matter whether they are pink, because I don't know any white man, anybody that says is white people are dead. The color of paper is white. I've never seen anybody carrying that paper. Whether you are pink or brown, there's no black man. I've never seen anybody that is black. Black is the color of charcoal. But whether pink or brown, we all have the same needs. Maslow defines human needs by the needs theory. It doesn't matter. It is universal. When human beings feel pain, they need palliatives. They need something to deal with the pain. And so these are fundamental truisms. Doesn't matter which client. And that's the first thing we understand. When you understand that fundamental, your solution becomes universal. However, one thing that is important is also culture. And so one of the things that happens is arrogance on the side of developers of solutions. People become very, very arrogant. And that's a very, very serious problem. They think that, oh, you know, I've designed this solution and you must accept it. I remember once, Philip and I attended, you know, a showcase presentation. We were in the bank at that time in a hotel. And this guy had come, they were trying to show us a trade finance solution from Kindle, the developers of Bankmaster at that time. They had developed a beautiful trade finance solution. And they came to showcase, invited all the banks in Nigeria, you know, into rooms. I think there were 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. We attended the afternoon session. And then this guy was presenting the solution that they had built from London and was very proud of the solution. And you know, the way our people are, when people were nodding like agama lizards because people were not asking the right questions. Maybe because it was a pink guy that was presenting. And they weren't asking the right questions. Everybody was really, really kind of impressed. But I asked a fundamental question. I said to him, listen, there's something that you have said. I don't seem to understand. Help me understand. And I asked that question. And he said, yes, that's the way the system behaves is the way I have described. I said, that is absolutely repulsive. You cannot bring that kind of system to our client. It's going to lead to lots of reconciliation challenges. Now, guess what his answer was? And that is why I tell my people this. His answer was, listen, I was a bank manager in American Express Bank for 15 years. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. That was the answer to the question. A question that was talking about knowledge, he was bringing social proof on the table to intimidate everybody in the room. And I was not intimidated by his silly CV of being in American Express Bank for donkey years. It had absolutely no value to me. So I told myself, beautiful. Now that I know that, I can tell you that you have presented nonsense. Because American Express Bank, particularly at that time, was one of the biggest challenges to the Nigerian banking system. So I said, actually, American Express Bank, I had just sent a telex to American Express Bank, telling them that that practice, they needed to desist and cease. And the moment I said that, Philip will remember what happened. There was an uproar in the room. Everybody that had been nodding before then, that they have presented a brilliant solution. Everybody said, yes, it's true. Yeah, this nonsense has to stop. It's a bad practice. And that was the end of that presentation. So everybody left the room. And when we stepped out, one of the guys, I still remember his name, Charles Ayeni, came to me. He said, you are a troublemaker. I said, I'm not a troublemaker. I only told you the truth. You do not have a solution. The following week, Philip, remember, they sent me a telex
invitation
inviting me to Ireland on their deal that they needed to have a meeting with me. I should come to Ireland. They were going to facilitate the trip. They would pay everything so that I could come and discuss those issues. So what I'm talking about is that they came arrogantly to say you have a solution. Let me say something. It doesn't matter how brilliant you are. Your solution that you developed in your bedroom is worthless. It only has value when the society ascribes value to it by saying that it solves their problem. And that's one of the things that I continue to preach as captain of PFS. Never be arrogant. Don't go telling a client you've done this. It doesn't matter what you have done. Listen to that client. That is how new knowledge is formed. And I think that so far, that's one of the most important indices that I monitor in PFS, our arrogance index. I think so far we are doing well. I pray that we keep it up. But as long as we continue to behave that way, we will continue to be relevant.
Wow. Before I even say anything to that, there's been a hand raised in the room, and I'm going to give the floor to Aziz. He wants to talk, so I'm just going to briefly allow him to talk now. Aziz. Hello, Aziz.
Aziz has office, Michael.
Hello, Aziz. Hello. Okay. I think it will get back to us. It will get back to us. The other question that is also here, and I'm very sure that a lot of people want to hear about it, hear the answer, and I'll go to the DMD now. It says, I admire combination SaaS, but have you had your moments, times of disagreements? Because we know of some partners who started out well, but could not continue. How have you been able to soar above such times, if there were?
Well, it's I won't say a tough question, but it's actually stimulating for me. Yes, because at times both of us wonder, how come we've been able to, get along for this long? Wow. And it's also that is like, we even find it difficult to explain how and why. And at times when you say it, it's like these people are just trying to fabricate story. They are not telling us the truth. But the truth of the matter is that we really don't, I would say that I wouldn't really know why. Because in actual fact, we behave like twins. And I think one thing that is very, very crucial that I can fish out here, even from the time we were young, is the fact that our value system is actually similar. That's all. The value system is similar. And there's this matrix. You have these immeasurable satisfaction and faith in the future that is far bigger than what you currently have, and that is it. No matter the situation, you just believe that tomorrow is okay. We had distributed 250 naira before. MD, when was that? 250 naira.
People, I think that was 1994.
3 people, we had to fuel our car, and he was the one who had to go and give somebody fuel. Without it, nobody could come to the office the next day. Even the way we manage resources is amazing. So we have, very, very, I would say congruent. It's far more than congruent because you don't even have separate, lines that you are trying to align. No, it's just one simple mind and approach to issues of life that has actually brought about bonds. It's virtually everything. I remember when it started in 1990 or 1989, December, and he was a bit down on malaria. And I said, okay, let me take you to a place. And he answered. And he took it, take pepper soup, take another thing. And it's like when one is actually on the driver's seat, the other is backing up. And I can bet you have issues, you can interview us separately, you come up with some things, you will see that we have similar approach, similar values, similar, value system to issues and generally. And I will also say that I think we also enjoy providence, divine providence in actually bringing us, together and giving us the grace to share so many things, together. I would say that it's one of the rare partnerships that we could ever come across in the world. We've been friends since 1989, November, and up to date, still. It was as if it was yesterday. But believe you me, we hardly had friction. We don't have frictions. In fact, there was a time when we started, we even told ourselves that, look, we can't just be relating. We need people that can talk to us when we misbehave. I remember. So we considered a board, and intentionally we brought somebody on the board who was our former boss, Benga Famuriyo. He's still a member of the board till today. That in case we misbehave or there's a rift, at least our guys used to the 2 of us, they can call us privately. We didn't go to him once. So Famuriyo is on the line, we'll be listening. We go to him. So I would say that we've enjoyed God's grace, coming together. And we knew it could happen. We knew, and then we always said that yes, when it happened, but the window was never activated. We never activated that window to resolve anything. I think we have enjoyed God's grace, but it's a very rare one. It's a very rare one. If tomorrow I have, like somebody will say, if you come back to the world again and you're talking about partnership, of course, I call him Yeket. Of course, we do the same thing together without thinking.
Very rare, sir. Very, very, very rare. With all the challenges you faced together, with all the successes you've had together, and you are saying, what you are saying, sometimes it's because I know you and I know him. I know you won't put a falsehood out for anything. You don't stand for falsehood. So people that are listening, I think the major take home is to ask for God's providence to lead you to your partner so that you can have this kind of relationship. Thank you very much, sir, for revealing that. Quickly, we will just I know that your PFS has faced many challenges, and we're almost coming to the end of. But doctor, what was the main challenge you faced at the beginning, and is it still the main challenge that you face today?
Well, you know, in the beginning was a challenge of who believes in you, who knows you. That was a big challenge. Well, of course, there have always been challenges of, you know, insufficient resources, you know, but that's normal economics, scarcity. But I don't consider that to be a business problem. Every business, including Google, including, you know, Tesla, they don't have sufficient resources. They're going to tell you that. So that's not a problem. So, but the very first and big challenge was who's going to allow you to showcase your talents. And I remember how it was, you know, those dark days. You would go out and you talk and people are just laughing at you. I remember one day, Philip and I went to a bank. And on that, you know, those were days where we wake up in the morning and we drive and park the car somewhere in front of Mr. Biggs. That's the one behind Sterling Towers now. And we walk down Broad Street from that point, walk to the end of Broad Street, canvassing company to company, and then get back on Marina and start walking back, canvassing company to company to see we are a new company, we are selling this. And so you can imagine that by the time we got to Wesley House, which is just beside where Shell is, very close to Sterling Towers now, we were very tired. I was extremely tired. We started walking around 10, 11. The time was about 4 o'clock. So we must have walked, you know, for maybe about 5 hours, you know, going from place to place. And then Philip said, oh, let's stop by this bank now. This is a good bank, you know.
That's
Marina. I have a very good friend there, you know. We were friends when we were doing ICANN. We used to study together. He's a nice guy. He's in IT. Let's go and see him. I'm sure he might be able to find some business for us. I was extremely reluctant. Not because I didn't want to prospect, but I was extremely tired. And Philip said, no, let's do it today. So, you know, we went. And when we got there, you know the way, we started vibrating. We can do this, we can do that, develop software. The guy just sat down like this, was watching two clowns. And when we finished sermonizing, he asked one question. So you want to turn this back around? And then, you know, we didn't, that was completely derogatory. So we said, I said, listen, guys, we don't deal with people like you. This bank, everybody here has 2 degrees, started telling me how much bigger they were and just like us. That was what happened on that day. But that day, I wasn't in a good mood at all on that day. And I told him off. I told him point blank that, listen, my friend, I don't care how brilliant you are. If you are in my class, you will be following me in class. Go and check my records in Ife. They will tell you. So don't come and tell me you are brilliant. You are not anywhere near brilliant when people like us are talking. If you want to give us business, give us business. If you don't want to give us business, get lost. But that was the challenge at that time. Nobody wanted to give us an opportunity. And I remember when we went to Afribank, I will mention that. That was also a problem. How do you even get into Afribank? How do you get to see the MD? And invariably, the MD asked that question when he saw your he said, this is your application that you have showed me. If it is so good, why is every bank in Nigeria not using it? That was his own problem. You've come, yes, it looks like a good application, but I don't believe it. Because if it was so good, everybody should be using it. And then we had to give him an answer of peace. And the answer we gave him was that, no, the application is good. You too, you've seen it, sir. But the process of buying is different. Because even before I could get to see you, it's a tug of war. And that was how the man looked pitifully and mercifully on us. And he said, okay, We're going to try it. And that's how we got him. That was the challenge at that time. But today, I think PFS has transcended that. So if you go somewhere today and you say you are from PFS and it's in the finance industry and somebody says, I don't know you, you should ask the person whether the person is actually alive or the person has anything in between his ears at all. We've gone beyond that. The challenge of whether somebody knows you or trusts you is completely out of it. I think the biggest challenge that we really have today is establishing legacy. It's being able to transit beyond who the founders are. Do we have a company that is able to run when I'm no longer alive, when I'm no longer present? I think that's the real big issue today. And that's what we are really working on. And I pray that God will help us.
Thank you, sir. We pray that you will be around for so many more years.
Yeah, I'm going to be around alive for you in a number of years for sure.
Because some of us
finite. But I don't want to spend all my years in PFS.
Yes, but some of us have not collected what you are owing us, so we will make sure that you are around to collect it before you go. Okay, sir. So on the topic of legacy, and that is a perfect evolution to my the next question that comes forward. And first thing I just directed, like I said, I was watching a video of the DMD yesterday, and I say this factually, the energy that I got from watching him, I still have it with me today. I was watching him talk to bankers after the NACS go live, and you could see his excitement. So we'll just go straight to that point. Not many people in Nigeria or outside Nigeria know that it is Precise Financial Systems in Yaba, Lagos, that achieved that feat in tandem with NIBS. I just want you to give a quick overview, because people here might not know what I'm talking about, but I want you to come from your mouth. A quick overview of what was done. What was the challenge? Who were the enemies of progress? And how that project saw the light of day? Don't let me take too much of our time.
Yes, I won't even take much of your time, because there's nothing I want to say now that is even much more credible than what the market really is now. Okay, then we started so you could see me vibrating, but now I don't really need to say much, because the market is there. You have the national switch and it's there. Nigeria, of course, we know our population. So if we could do this, we have few of such solutions all over the world, very few. And then, of course, we replaced one of the top most in the world. So to have that, we thank Nigeria, we thank NIBS for giving us the opportunity. And that was the demonstration of the fact that Nigerians can actually solve their problems and help other countries solve their problems. So, and the next project is there, is National Switch. We have it for check clearing and also for net is there. So much advantages, well documented over what they were using before. And I would say that the system is actually T+0 ready. That means that you could actually exchange your instruments. Although a lot of people will say that yes, checks is going out of use. Yes, it's true. But then of course you still have it as a channel. So even if you want to bury checks, make sure that the ghost will not come back chasing you, because people are still using checks. And besides checks, you have the net too. They are all means of clearing electronic transactions on it nationally. And we have trillions of transactions, trillions of naira over the past years. And I will tell you that in the past 3 years or 3.5 years, there had not been any downtime, no single downtime. Okay? So it's something that we are very fascinating about, something that we're very glad about. And we thank our team, we thank NIBS for giving us the opportunity. But I'll tell you, the market result is it. I won't start talking about enemy, because we don't have enemies in PFS. We don't discuss other colleagues, competitors. We don't discuss competitors in PFS. As a matter of policy, we don't discuss competitors with clients. We only discuss with our clients and tell them what we can deliver, discuss their pain areas, and we give solutions. For us, we don't discuss competitors. We don't even see them as enemies, but we just see them as players in the industry. Thank you very much, Jide.
Okay, I would then take a word or a phrase from the MD. I know he's itching to add something to what you've said. I know that PFS doesn't have enemies, but we have people who do not want you to do what you want to do.
So for let's use a euphemism to describe them as detractors. So they exist, you know. And there's nothing we can say. There's absolutely nothing you can wish. If you do not have detractors, then you are not living. First of all, the honest truth is that everything you do in that regard, while it may seem to be a gain to Nigeria, is a loss to some powers that be, and they are not happy about it. And they have, you know, collaborators within who also benefit from the nonsense. And so those kind of people never wish for companies in Nigeria or even the country to develop. Yes, they exist, we know. But talking about that, I really want to use this time to celebrate the team, particularly the captain of that team, Sheyi, who's the ED. I mean, I'm going to say one or two things here and for the records. The day that that switch went live, deliberately, I was in South Africa. And that is an attestation to my confidence in Sheyi. In fact, I went to South Africa, not only did I go, I went with the deputy managing director to South Africa, right? And we left. And Sheyi, in any case, that project, I wasn't even visible. Sheyi did that project from beginning to the end. I'm very proud of that. And of course, it's a very able team, you know, very well assisted by TJ, the External Affairs Minister, Alfred, and Fini, and co. These are people that played a very significant role. These gentlemen were not sleeping. I remember there were days I would be sleeping on my bed and I'll be seeing their email when I wake up. And these guys were not sleeping. But you see, what I say here is that this is an attestation of what the minds of Nigerians are capable of doing. These are young people, well, maybe not so young anymore, but well, we are all small boys, but are we given opportunities to do more? A lot more can happen, but we are grateful. On the other hand, what could have happened on December 8th when that crash happened? And somebody said, well, sorry guys, we've allowed you to try your madness for long enough. I think we have to now go back to people that have solutions. Nobody would know the capacity of the Nigerian to provide such a solution to the world. And I said that has changed a lot of things in the landscape. Many places I go to that I thought that nobody would ever recognize me. Once I went to the US, to a company, very big company, and I went with the Central Bank of Nigeria for a meeting with them. And when I entered the room and I exchanged cards with them in the US, once they saw my card, the MD of that very big company said, wow, this is a competitor. From where to where? How do you know PFS? He gave me the history of PFS. Once I was in Kenya, I met somebody from World Bank. I gave him my card. From the World Bank, once he saw my card, he said, I know this company. How can you know my company? And then he said, yes, I know you guys. You are the guys doing these projects in NIBS. How is it going? And I told him, that has put PFS on the global map of powerhouses in payments. And a whole lot of things. We are going to actually unlock that. That's premature to talk about right now. But I say that it's also giving me some peace of mind that yes, if people are allowed, they can do a whole lot. I'm seeing a team of people that are well motivated and are much more competent than I am. And I'm so proud of that, I should say that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. We have another question, and this pertains to cryptocurrency. We know that there has been some furore in the country concerning this subject. But the question here is saying, will PFS explore reconciliation and auditing of blockchain-based transactions in the future? And I'm very sure that the MD can guess who has asked this question.
I'm sure that person it must be someone like Precious. Precious lives blockchain all his life.
It is
well, or it's Precious. I know. Precious. I mean, he's come to. Precious is my teacher in that area. He's the one that taught me. Yes, and the answer is yes. So I mean, look, we think blockchain is important. We think cryptocurrencies are emerging. But much more importantly, digital currencies have come to stay. And to that extent, the market is large, it is growing, and clearly, for every smart business, we want to take positions. And Precious has actually identified a good position for us to be in, the forensics of it. At least on that area, I said at least we will be playing in the forensics. I use the word at least because we believe that there are other opportunities that are likely to arise in that field that we will also explore, but for sure. But one of the things I also know about blockchain is that blockchain is supposed to be open. It's supposed to be such that, I mean, the theory of it is that the ledgers are distributed, and when the transaction happens, it propagates, it replicates by my, what do you call it now? Should I call it my own archaic knowledge? Blockchain is a form of completely distributed database where everybody that is completely on active. So everybody has the same record of what's going on. And when you have such a situation, reconciliation shouldn't really be a big challenge.
Exactly.
Of course, there are issues to be looked at, and we are very happy to play in those areas.
Thank you, sir. We're gradually rounding it up now, but we have to just mention, PFS started March 1st, 1994.
Correct.
And we're in the month of celebration of the formation. 27 years. 27 years is not a joke, running a business. We just want to know why you guys still look like this. Why are you not totally burnt out working in the Nigerian business environment? You can start, DMD, you can take it, I know.
No, how do we look like?
You look like you could start another company now.
The problem is that Philip has shaven his mustache. So that's the first problem.
Why? Because normally we associate entrepreneurship, especially in Nigeria, with a lot of stress, with a lot of frazzled looks. For both of you are looking so youthful, and people are asking how after 27 years.
Let me tell you a story. 1994. I won't mention the name of the bank. It was a merchant bank. Of course, the bank doesn't exist anymore now. And we went to them that we wanted to sell reconciliation, Clarek, of course, DOS version. And then luckily we were able to meet the GM. We convinced them, somebody took us to the GM. And we were speaking and we were negotiating. Then at the time, MD said, sorry, sir, can I use your landline? I want to call my office. You guys said, hey, which office? Do you guys have office? You're not friends. I just want to assist you. Is it not because you come from this area and then you are very entrepreneurial in your approach to things? The guy did not believe we had an office. He just thought we just young guys that just being driven by passion and we wanted to do business and he wanted to help. Well, let me tell you this. If you still have if you are original in the reason why you are doing what you are doing, you have passion towards what you are doing, and you enjoy it, for you, it's no job. It's an hobby. It's an hobby. It's as simple as that. I still had a session yesterday with some of my team on client, on accounts reconciliation, and then the rest, putting reconciliation, looking at various means of calculating finance cost adjustment, and putting a reconciliation system, blah, blah, blah. It's something you enjoy. So for us, we always look fresh. I'm still very young. Look at me very well. I'm still very young. Still very young. And that is it. We enjoy what we do. We love it. And we could see results. We could see testimonies. I mean, every day you are encouraged by result. By what even former stars, or even on the platform, I could see some chats from previous staff. Some of them, we tell people that we love our partners. We love our staff. Many of them have left, and they are still friends to the house till date. Till date. So you enjoy it. Seeing all that, now people have been motivated. We have a lot of friends that have set out their own organizations. They set up businesses on the wings of inspirations they got from PFS, even professional firms. I remember a lawyer that said that, look, PFS actually motivated me to have my own chambers. So you have all that. So they are all satisfying, and they are increasingly satisfying. So of course, there's no way you will see stress. We don't have blood pressure, no high blood sugar. Look good and look calm and look fine. So you set up another business, you set up. But the fact is that you cannot continue, you must draw the line. You see, business continuity is very, very important. It's very, very important. And that is best done when you are still agile, when you can still work for the next 10 years and you do it well ahead. That's what gives you the master stroke. Thank you very much, Jide.
Master stroke. And let me quickly move on to, because now the questions are pouring in. MD says, would you say with your experience so far that there's a prescriptive knowledge for the success of startups?
That's an interesting question. Incidentally, that's an area that I spent a reasonable part of my academia on my research, my area of research and interests. And I have published journals now.
Yes.
Published journals in very reputable top journals in that area. Incidentally, even in academia, we say our knowledge is also in parts. However, there are certain things that we know that have become knowledge in terms of startups. So look, one of the things I can tell you, based both on knowledge and experience, is that, and I've said it here, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are, it doesn't determine success. A very good friend of mine one day, we still spoke about a week ago, very interesting. We just caught up in Abuja airport and we got talking, and I said to him, Folabi, your first class does not guarantee that you are going to be successful in business. He said, Yele, you are wrong. So I was wondering, what does it mean? I have a lot of things to prove that. He said, Yele, you are very wrong. He said, actually, your first class is an assurance that you are going to fail in business. So that meant that what I said, he said I put it mildly, and I've said it here. A lot of times, people in startups think that they have brilliant ideas. One of the things people need to do is that there's no idea that you have that people have not had before. And I'm being very honest about that. It's the honest truth. Or you think you have an idea that nobody has had, maybe, but within the next 24 hours, you're going to see several people that will have the same idea. But one of the things that happens, it's written in the Bible, time and chance. So time, take a look at Uber, for instance. What's the big deal about Uber? Take a look at Facebook today. What's the big deal? How many of you remember something called MySpace? MySpace had been on for years before Facebook. What happened to MySpace? We talk about Internet Explorer. How many of you remember Netscape Navigator? Do you think Internet Explorer is better than Netscape Navigator? People that understand the technology will tell you that by fact, Navigator was better than Internet Explorer. So when people come and tout how brilliant their idea is, how much it is going to change the world, I get excited with them but I'm old enough and experienced enough to help them moderate it, to knowing that there are other more important factors, and that actually in this world of valuations, what is likely to determine your success is more of who are your companions, who are you trucking with, who are those that you are collaborating with that can speak for you behind closed doors. That's very important. One other thing that we know today, and you asked that question, Philip answered it. Actually, I don't know how many times people have asked me that have I been financially, I'm comfortable financially by the grace of God. But has it always been like this? Definitely not. Have I been bankrupt in the past? Perhaps many times I've been bankrupt. Because what's the meaning of bankruptcy? Where my liabilities are a lot more than my assets. I told you something. There was a time PFS, when we started, we were owing 1.6 million naira. That 1.6 million naira was about 10 times the net worth of the company at that time. We pay back every kobo. But how do you determine that? It is grit. It is tenacity. It is consistency of focus that allows you to actually do the right things. Let me tell you something, and I'm happy I'm saying it on this platform. Look, we also have to recognize, and I say this all the time, that there's a God that determines, that rules over the affairs of men. When you think you've done something brilliant, the eye teller today that everybody is celebrating, we spent a lot of money, invested so much. I remember the DMD doing a report very recently. When I saw the figures myself, I was like, really, we spent this much? But it got to a point where we had spent money, we thought we were brilliant, we thought we were doing something that would change the landscape. It got to a point where even I knew that the product had failed. Nobody was going to buy it. It doesn't matter how brilliant it was. Nobody was going to buy it. And I was tired myself.
Yeah.
And I said, well, listen, guys, I mean, for once again, I said, once again, we failed. And nothing stops us from trying again. But just at that time, when we thought we had failed, just at that time was when we got the needed encouragement. I was in Manchester. I'd gone to attend my brother's doctoral graduation. I wasn't pursuing any transaction when I got a phone call. The phone call was not telling me to submit a proposal or to defend a proposal. The phone call said that we sent a proposal for a figure, but that the approval we got was about 300-fold of the figure that we had sent for. I thought it was a joke. When you send a proposal, I want to sell something for 1 naira. And then the MD of the company says, these people, what do they mean? Do they think I don't have money? That was what he said. He said, does Yele think I don't have money? So why is he insulting me by sending me this nonsense? And then he gives an approval times 300. And that is what led to the success story that we see today. What would have happened if that approval hadn't come? That product would probably be one of the products that came and never saw the light of day. And I said that there are so many products like that that could change the world. But to see the people that are really going to change the world will have to understand one thing, that it is not your product that changes the world, it is your attitude that changes the world. So sometimes you put in your best into a product, it doesn't work, go look for another one. That doesn't work, go and read the Bible. When Isaac was dwelling with the Philistines, Bible records that he was digging wells and there were strifes. He kept on digging wells. Digging wells in entrepreneurship, in tech entrepreneurship, is building products. You bring one, it fails, bring another one. It fails, bring another one. It fails, bring another one. Who knows the one that will go through? Now, it turns out that sometimes, even that failed one that you thought becomes successful years later. And to my mind, I think these are the things that can actually move the needle for aspiring entrepreneurs.
Wow. A promise is that the transcript of this will be made available to everyone that has come on board this morning. Thank you for your time. Thank you for waiting. We're almost done. Before I let both gentlemen go, I know that the DMD is a man of numbers. So I say that in 27 years, what you saw at the beginning and what PFS is now, what would you say has been the greatest achievement of this company?
Well, in terms of number, I will not be able to give you any figure now. But as I said, the greatest achievement is for us seeing ourselves being part of solution to Nigerian business environment. It is so delightful. And that no value, no naira value, no dollar value can describe or can actually put in the right perspective that we would like to view it. We have solutions that have replaced foreign solutions, many of them, few of them, and still growing. And then you know how much, I would say billions of dollars we've saved this economy over the years, the business environment over the years. It is really amazing. So in terms of figures, look at it economically, the environment is huge. I can't even describe it. I can't go back and describe it. We could do some juxtaposing, changes of figures, assumptions, and then the rest. It's amazing. And then for us, of course, in PFS, thank God we've been comfortable and we can still do more. We are exploring some other means of doing more. You have an environment whereby the compensation mechanism is actually skewed and is not for business at arm's length, makes things extremely difficult. And then you have that. You have your engineers, you have your consultants around, and then of course we have some other environments that can even pay them 3 times you are paying them, and they are still very happy working with you. So you're looking at the numbers, it has to be put in perspective. The issue is that so far so good. We are moving forward. The graph is upward looking, and then we can do far better than we are doing. Thank you.
MD,
if I may say something
please do.
In that regard. I remember you and I had private conversations about some of these issues. For me, I think the biggest success story that I would say has absolutely very little or nothing to do with any products that PFS has done. But I think the biggest successes are the people. And I'm happy I can see, Yemi Oladeji, for example, on the line today. People who the company has developed. People, I see Laulu, Fani as well. These are people that have gone through. I also saw Ayo. I think Ayo came in and also went out at a point in time.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, I think that's the biggest thing that gladdens my heart. Because one of the things, and I said it's even documented in our records in PFS, I was very clear about the mission of the company. When I looked at my mission as an individual and as the captain of the ship, I have never looked at the mission in terms of dollars. Look, forget about it. Everybody's going to become millionaires in PFS. There's no doubt about that. Those are the list of my worries. But one of the things I said, and I still work towards, is this company will promote and breed and groom the most successful CEOs and general managers in the industry. And these are the things that I use to judge myself all the time. How much am I giving people to be able to become better than I can ever be? That, to me, remains the biggest asset. And I see that a number of times. I told you something, Jide, I think you posted something was on Facebook, one of the media anyway. And you know, somebody put it there, oh, yeah, PFS. I celebrate this company. I did my IT in that company. That's gratifying. I do a bit of traveling. And I'm in some obscure airport somewhere in the world that I thought nobody would ever know me. I'm sitting down in a lounge or maybe at the boarding gate reading a magazine, and you see a gentleman or a lady, you know that this is successful. And the person walks up to me and says, Dr. Okeremi, my pleasure. I did my internship in PFS in 2002. I am now vice president in so. That gladdens me because one of the things I want to make it known is that we are Black, we are not stupid. Just as long as we are able to produce such people that can fly that flag, I can depart this realm as a very happy man.
Wow. We're going to wrap up in the next 1 minute, and I would ask these questions one after the other from both of you. Let me start with the MD. Use one word for the past of PFS. Just one word for the past.
I would say in one word, I would say interesting or
okay.
Gratifying.
Thank you, sir. DMD, I would say you should use one word for the present.
One word for the present.
Yes, the present of PFS. What is it?
I would say navigating.
Thank you, sir. Now, both of you will need to pick on this one. Let me start with the DMD. One word for the future.
One word for the future, I would say sure.
Assured. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Not assured.
Sure. Okay.
Sure.
MD, sir, you have the last word. One word for the future of PFS as we continue celebrating the company at 27.
Bright.
What did you say, sir?
Bright.
Bright.
We have an extremely bright future. I can say that with confidence.
Okay, so when we add both words together, and I will send that out, it's called Sure Bright. So maybe it's the new word that we'll start using in PFS in the coming days. But I just want to thank everyone who took time out to attend this event. I know that everyone has a tight schedule, and today is also Friday. So as we close up, what we will do is that by God's grace, this transcript will be available next week, and this video will be posted onto our YouTube channel, and the links will be sent out. Thank you very much, sirs, Dr. Okeremi, for this time. Thank you, Mr. Ayeni, because you are always an inspiration. The kind of knowledge that you bring to bear shows in all the products that we have. Thank you for jumping ship 27 years ago, both of you, to form PFS. We can see, like the MD said, people have grown and have been manufactured from the bowels of this company, who are doing great things in other areas of the world. Thank you very much, sir. As we go now, I just say have a lovely weekend. Be safe. COVID is still out there. Yes, the vaccinations, if you are able to, please go and take the vaccinations. It will not kill you. It's not 666. It will ensure that at least you are a bit safe. But let us continue to wear our nose masks and to continue to wash our hands. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.